Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight in our candid conversations. And we are rehumanizing human rights. And this is so important for Michigan Coalition for Human Rights, and wanted to take time out to really thank everyone who has been a part of these conversations. Right now, Michigan Coalition for Human Rights is really looking at even more so how we can come together to make change. And believe it or not, honey, we are doing it right now. We are coming together. There are so many coalitions that have come together and have not only stood together, but are actively making changes. And that is what we need to do, is to focus on the change that we are. How are you changing your community? How are you changing your household? How are you standing on the principles of human rights? It starts with you, it starts with me, and it starts with us. So, Michigan Coalition for Human Rights promotes awareness of, commitment to, and advocacy for human rights through education, community organization, and action. MCHR opposes forces that suppress human dignity, freedom, and justice locally and around the world. So today, our first guest, I'm telling you, I'm so excited. Dr. Yusuf Shakur is going to join us, and I'm going to allow him to introduce himself. And at the same time, I'm going to be bragging on all the wonderful things that I see that he's doing, and I know that I'm only touching on just a brief, just a little bit of it. But he is the director of operations of Mama Akua Community House, field organizer at Community Movement Builders, CEO and founder of the Yusuf Bunchi Shakur Consulting LLC, studied public police and social change at Union Institute and University, uh, studied at University of Michigan School of Social Work, studied African American Studies at University of Michigan Dearborn, and studied at Michigan Reformatory. That's what he says. I'm gonna let him tell his story because, like I said, I'm only touching upon such a great and dynamic person. With no further ado, Dr. Yusuf Bunchi Shakur, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me. Uh, the only thing I would add to your great intro is I'm the son of Ava Joe, second generation Detroiter. I'm the co-executive director at the Michigan Roundtable for Just Communities. Some
I
people,
forgot that.
that's all good. It's all good. That's what we're a team. We're gonna work together. That was formerly known as Michigan Roundtable for Diversity and Inclusion. Um, those who don't know, the reference in the bio, Michigan Reformatory, aka Gladiator School, that is MR and I Own You. It sounds like I Own You, which was some a periods of long times in the state of Michigan, where they sent a lot of the younger prisoners at. It was at one point it was Marquette Jackson and MR. I went there in the '90s, and it was where my political education was born. Where a lot of guys they go backwards because of so much undeveloped behavior, activity goes there. They just get lost in that. Fortunate enough for me, I was able
Mhm.
to rise above that.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, it's funny, uh, Dr. Yusuf, because that's where I know you from is Michigan Roundtable, executive director, and also you are one of the key members of the board of Michigan Coalition for Human Rights.
Yeah,
And
that's
we want to just say thank you for what you're doing in the community, and thank you for collaborating with us. You have a couple events coming up. You want to talk about those events before we dive into more of you.
sure. The Michigan Roundtable will be celebrating our 74th tribute dinner. I tend to use to simplify it to people to to get it. Our tribute dinner is like the Freedom Fund dinner of the NAACP. It's where we invite community members, our corporate partners to come and celebrate, recognize our work. Obviously, it's a fundraiser as well. We want to make change, but in reality, change is not free, unfortunately, in this society, and we have to raise money to be able to impact those changes. So, folks are welcome to come out, but also welcome to learn about who we are and what we do, and also learn about how we can work together. In my estimation, the challenges, the injustice that we suffer and face against in this society, in this world, there's no one organization can solve it by itself. I would just paraphrase that. It's important when we do come together. We talk about the values. What are the values that govern us, and how we operate? We don't have to like each other. We don't even necessarily have to get along. Our values is going to allow us to be able to facilitate and do what we have to do to build out the type of organization relationship that we need.
So, Dr. Yusuf, are the tickets still available for people who want to come?
Yes,
Or are
they
you
are.
sold out?
They're
Okay.
still available. They're still available.
And how can they get in touch with you? I mean, with the organization to get a ticket?
They can call me directly, 313-459-6008. 313-459-6008.
Beautiful, beautiful. So I want to just touch a little bit about what was the igniting force that prompted you into activism?
That's a great question. So first, I started off as a gang member in the city of Detroit, and I learned how to utilize my mind, my time, my effort, my commitment. And being a gang member wasn't about doing criminal things. It wasn't about being negative at all. It was an experience, and because the experience had the wrong information and the wrong knowledge as a human being, the outcomes, the outputs became negative. In all honesty, I was trying to protect my neighborhood. I was trying to serve my neighborhood. I was just doing it in a backwards way. I ended up going to prison for a crime I didn't do. And on that bus on my way to prison, my mother prayed and prayed, and her prayers to her, answer her prayers her prayers was answered in me meeting my father in prison. And fortunate enough for me, the outer relationship that him and I developed will have a tremendous impact on me redeeming and transforming my life. And part of that redemption and transformation was reading. Reading the autobiography of Malcolm X, reading Seeds of Time, the book about the Black Panther Party, and numerous other books. So now that gang mentality that I had began to be shredded and began to transform to now to see how, okay, I was active in my neighborhood. I ignited myself in my neighborhood. Now I saw how to do it from a activist, organizing, advocate perspective, and not just from a gang member way.
Yeah. And so, it's something because back during those times, when you did experience incarceration, and how long were you incarcerated for?
I was incarcerated for 9 years.
For a crime that you didn't do.
Yes.
And a lot of times people don't understand how not only the system preys upon youth who are at a disadvantage. So could you fight? How can you describe that? How, the family or you could not really fight against that wrongful conviction?
It not only preyed upon me as a youth, but it preyed upon my family in our neighborhood, a vulnerable neighborhood, vulnerable community. Coming up in the era of what I identify as single motherhood, sexism running rampant, undermining our communities, pushed me and my peers out to running the streets, and running the streets contribute to what I call being socially molested. I repeat, we were socially molested, taken advantage of, scarred, And some of us, that scarring and that tissue scar was deeper than others, where some of us wasn't able to recover, turned into predators, and this all is predicated on the food that we was fed of self-hatred, and the evolution of that. We saw that through gangs, and the outcome is the destruction of our community. And so with this analysis is how we produce new human beings, which we saw in the life of Malcolm X, we saw in George Jackson, and so many others. And the ability to be aware and learn about them things contributed to me to be the man who I am today.
And so we can both agree that that kind of learning is not in the educational system, not in depth.
It's not at all.
Yeah, that's tremendous because during that time there was a consorted effort by government to fill those youth prisons or detentions they called them, in actuality in Michigan, and people were getting paid and receiving monies according to the young men that were being incarcerated at very young ages.
Can you repeat that again?
I said, during that time and during the 90s, that was in the 90s, right?
Yes.
There was the youth were being incarcerated. They had a detention. What was the name of the detention? I'm just forgetting the name of the detention center that was definitely being filled, and people were getting paid.
Are you talking about Green Oaks or Maxi Training School?
I think that's one of them. They had a couple of them, but yes,
Yeah, those were the most two of the pop. I mean, they had Star Commonwealth, a lot of them, but those two was the ones setting up
Star
for prison.
Commonwealth.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so right now we do have our second guest, and I'm gonna let him introduce himself. Is Abiomi,
Hello.
and we're gonna let him come in. Azikuwe, did I say that right, Abiomi?
Yeah, that's fine.
Did I do it right? I try to practice.
Yeah,
So
that's fine.
how are you doing?
Oh, I'm
Can you
doing
hear me
good.
okay?
I got mixed up about the date.
It's okay. I'm glad you are here. Nobody knew that, Abiomi. Nobody knew. So
Nobody knew
I'm so
what.
glad you're here. Um,
Oh, okay.
you are an editor of the Pan African News Wire,
Yes.
which I do look at.
Okay.
And
Good.
so, and I know that's not all. Can you introduce yourself to our viewers here at Michigan Coalition for Human Rights, and let them know a little bit about what you're doing, what you're involved in now, how we can support?
Well, it's very public. A lot of the things that I'm involved in. I have been involved with the Michigan Coalition for Human Rights as a board member since 2005. Before that, I was very much aware of the organization and had worked in various coalitions with them around South Africa, Southern Africa, back in the 1980s, when the organization had first started. So, yeah, so I have been a board member since 2005. I was chairman of the board from 2007 to 2011. And now I'm a board member at large.
Beautiful. And tell us what I know you've done a lot of political studying and
So did you
economy at
freeze?
Wayne State.
Oh,
I
okay.
think you did for a second. Are we good? Can you hear me? I think you're freezing.
Yeah, it sounded like you were breaking up.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah. Oh, me?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you clearly now. Yeah.
Okay. I think
All right.
you're
Go ahead.
freezing.
I didn't hear you before.
Okay.
It's like you were
Okay.
breaking up.
Okay. Um so what I want to say is that you have done a lot at in the community right now. You want to talk about some of the things that you're doing right now? Oh, Abiomi, I think you're freezing. Yeah,
Well,
you're
right
freezing.
now, I'm spending a lot of time working on the Palestinian question, many decades. So there's a lot going on. We see genocide being committed right before our eyes. So I think, oh, really? I wonder why. Okay. How is that? Can you hear me now?
Oh, I can hear you. Keep going.
Maybe I could, if I turned off the, okay, you can hear me now? Oh, well, over the last 6.5 months, we've had this genocidal onslaught in Gaza, and there's a lot going on all over the world, but here locally, there's quite a lot going on because we have a large Palestinian and Arab American, Muslim American community. But not just that, the fact that everybody can see what's going on in Gaza, and the fact that the United States government is taking our tax dollars, the tax dollars of working people in this country, to facilitate genocide. We're watching it right before our eyes. So, we cannot turn away from it, and we can't believe the propaganda of the U.S. government and the corporate media, and even the government-controlled media in this country.
Yes.
So I've been working on that quite a
And
bit over the last 6 months. Yeah.
yes, and I know that we have a couple of other members on the board who have been helping in that area also. Because what I'm understanding too is the apathy that is within some of the citizens, as if it can't happen to us, or as if it's not going on. What do you think is going on in the people's mind?
Well, a lot of people are definitely aware of what's going on. A lot of people are taking action, whether it's demonstrations or whether it's being involved in various discussions, um, debates that are taking place. We see what's happening on the campuses around the country. U of M, Columbia's encampments, and they're demanding that the entities that invest in the university and the university itself divest from any entity that has any relationship with the state of Israel. So there's even a petition at Wayne State, my alma mater, where I used to work years ago, circulating as well. So yeah, it's an active movement. The people who are apathetic, I think they are more or less in denial, because I mean, if you're following what's going on, you're going to feel compelled to do something about it. Just like any other injustice.
That's right. That's right. And so how can our viewers, if they don't know how to get involved, um, where could you steer them to help them get involved?
You mean in terms of the Palestinian solidarity movement,
Yes.
or you mean in terms of the Palestine solidarity? That's a difficult question because there's so much
Yes,
going
in
on.
terms of that.
You just have to try to get, yeah, you have to try to get on one of the listservs that talk about the different events. Like tomorrow, for example, There's supposed to be a gathering at 9:30 in the morning at St. Peter's Episcopal Church, where MCHR's office is located. At 9:30 tomorrow, they're going to gather, and then they're going to march to the federal building. So, if people can show up for that, that would, they can make contact with other people who are involved in the Palestinian struggle. But it's a very, very important issue at this time. And I think that, if the government doesn't do something about it, it's really going to cause even more political problems in the U.S.
Yeah, I think we have to do something. And if is there like a flyer on your Facebook page that we can circulate?
Yeah. Okay. Just a quick second. Yeah, it's not a good connection.
Could you hear me?
Yeah, now I can. Before I couldn't. No.
Okay.
So go ahead. I can hear you now.
Is there a flyer or something on your first Facebook that I could circulate to everybody regarding tomorrow?
Yeah, people can go to. No, not. Well, there's an email, the Jewish Voice for Peace. They put out an email, I think earlier today, with that event and others that are taking place. And we got the NFL draft that's taking place downtown now, so everything is blocked off. But I do believe that there's going to be something. The NFL draft is down there, and security is extremely tight. Just put it like that. Yeah, but I think MCHR for a number of years has been involved in in supporting Palestine. Some members have visited there. I know at least one person was involved in the Great March of the Return a few years ago, where people were actually killed. Now, these were nonviolent demonstrations. Okay, they weren't like the Al-Aqsa flood that started on October 7th. Where the resistance groups actually went into the occupied territories and did a lot of things. But these were peaceful marches from Gaza in an attempt to go into the occupied territories, and people were shot down by the Israeli armed forces. So people from MCHR, have been involved in those activities.
That's right. That's right. So what I want to, this is such a great connection, having both of you here, because you stand for so much, and not only you have gone beyond yourselves, and that's what's exciting. That's what I really like about it, is because you guys have gone beyond your own self, beyond your own community, and you've reached out to make change. And so, you're beyond just being African or African American. You're beyond that. You've reached out to others beyond everything. You decide, I'm going to sit at these tables, I'm going to come together and make a difference. So that being said, when it comes to sitting at the table, a lot of times I don't know, I can't remember right now who quoted it or if I even have the quote right, but it's always, the first thing is first, you got to be at the table. You have to be at the table. So when it comes to being at the table, what made you, when I say that phrase, be at the table, you can even rephrase it if you want to, because I just believe that the two of you have created your own tables. But when I say you have to be at the table, what does that mean to you, and how did you get to the table?
You asking me or Yusef?
She asking
asking both of you.
Okay, all right. Well, you want to go ahead first?
Sure, I'll go first. I think it's a profound question. It has a lot of entry points and departures. and it's some level of some trickology here too as well. And I'll start on that end, because in this line of work you can overdose yourself on thinking that you're more important than what you are. You can lose your voice. You can lose why you was invited to the table, why you should be at the table, because you're not grounded. And again, I think this goes back to values. For me, I think I learned the importance of the table as a result of my mother, and how she created her own table, because of the stereotypes and things that she suffered from, and I think that shaped me. And with the knowledge that I had, there's that Spider-Man quote: "With knowledge comes great responsibility." And it's not to my individual self, but to my community and to the people that I represent. And I think it's some it functions as a way of being elected, like you're a elected official. Like, people have elected you to represent them, to advocate for them. And I don't take that lightly. But also, I mean, if anybody want to find me, they know it. I mean, my office is in the streets. My office is on the block that I grew up on. So the ability to go to that table, but also the ability to know that you have your own table, because there's a power dynamic in there, and it's not. And so sometimes when folks are inviting you to the table, they're inviting you to the table to try to exercise their power towards you, and the ability to flip that. That's why we own and operate a community house in our neighborhood. And, hey, you want to meet? Yeah, you can meet at 2431 Ferry Park if you want to meet us there. And again, and it's the respect of the community. Even though you come to see me, you may run into Susie, you may run into little Bobby, because they in the community. So I think that's important, and we have to continue to go back to our own individual table and realize the power that's been invested in us, and the power that we've owned, that we've created, and to manage that power, not allow that power to manage us.
I love that. I love that. Thank you. Thank you.
Well,
And Abiomi, when we say
Yeah,
we
when
got
you
to
say
be at
that,
the table, what does that mean?
well, certain tables, some tables I don't want to be at, to be honest. You know, because unless we got some authority, some power, behind us, um, it's not going to be effective. So, I like, being at the table with people who are activists, organizers, educators, and the others, um, the powers that be, for example, um, I don't think they can be trusted. And I think that, right now in Detroit, there are people who are setting a narrative and who are speaking, for the majority African American population in Detroit. And that narrative is not beneficial to the people, in my opinion. So this is the crisis that we're facing right now. Even if you look and see how they promoted the NFL draft, for example, they keep emphasizing that the local people will be able to benefit from this. Okay, yet at the same time, their policies are forcing people out of Detroit. Period. In all areas of the city, people are being forced out.
Yeah.
So on the one hand, you're telling people over the TV, "Oh yeah, come on down," and then you're interviewing people who are saying, "Yeah, I got a pop-up business. I have a small business. I'm coming back to Detroit. I've been away for 20 years or whatever, and I'm happy to be back to see the city is doing so well," and so on and so forth. But actually, it's just a lot of hype, in my opinion. And I don't think that until we get strong enough, organized enough, going and sitting at those tables, I don't think it's going to be effective.
Hmm. Yeah.
Can I
Yeah.
can I add
Yeah.
something?
Because
Can I add something?
go
Real
ahead.
quick? I mean, I think that's it's a brilliant point and position. I mean, I think Grace Lee Boggs used to always say, "What's the time on the clock of the world?" And I think the time on the clock for us to just to reevaluate where we at in our position. I mean, we just look in the last 20 years, particularly as the crowd of activists, organizers, and et cetera. And as a collective, not individually. I think individually some of us done great, but collectively we've done a poor job. And if we're honest with ourselves, and I mean, and Duggan and his administration and others, they're very sophisticated, and they can't win without us joining their team. And there's other individuals. Like, I have mad love and mad respect for not Queen, Helen Moore, right? But when Duggan publicly announces at the state of city address, we're going to name the center after her, it was a political ploy. And she was taken aback. Other people like, how can you criticize that man in that moment? But this is where, again, history is important. We saw this movie before. We've heard this song before. This is nothing new. And we have to be hardcore in a way from our humanity demands of that, to be able to still be critical and question that. And I'm just throwing that out in the space because, and not to pick on Helen Moore, because there's numerous examples that we can discuss around that's continue to have us organize in circles.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess
That center,
at some point, oh, go ahead, Abiomi.
oh, I was just going to say, the last time I was over on Dexter and Elmhurst, the building was there, but I didn't see any work being done there. I don't
know.
Maybe have they started?
No work has been done yet.
Yeah. So they've been talking about it for a number of years now. So, they talk about a lot of stuff in this city. They're going to build this, they're going to build that, and then, next thing you know, the Renaissance Center is, General Motors is saying they're going to salvage the Hudson site by moving there. That's how I see it anyway. So they could even tear down the Renaissance Center. They may not do it now, but it may take a couple more years for them to tear it down. And so much for the Renaissance Center.
I think now we are moving. When you talk about rehumanizing, rethinking, rehumanizing human rights, we are moving beyond the statue building, and I'm gonna give you a holiday, and all of these outside forms of temporary gratification, to what is really being done, what kind of actions are really happening. And I'm hearing that that we really aren't seeing the progress, and we're not seeing the progress because we're not collectively coming together first to have progress within our communities. And some communities are. I do see some communities coming together. I think, yes, like you said, we can do better. We can definitely do better. And tell me this. Um, I heard Dr. Yusuf talk about suffering from stereotypes. That came out because I believe that as a people we have. Can you mention some of because we talk about rehumanizing human rights. What are some of the stereotypes and this goes to question for you too, Abiomi, that we suffer from, that people suffer from?
Another great question, and I would love to substitute the word stereotype for the term controlling images. I'm not sure if Patricia Hill
like that.
is the author of that term, but in her book, Black Feminist Thought, she writes a lot about that. And so in my research for my dissertation, I looked at stigmas and the dynamic of stigmas, racial stigmas, and which led me to controlling image. So the one I'm speaking specifically in my time period, where my mother and many Black women was labeled welfare queens. Their children was labeled welfare babies. If you was a mother or woman who had multiple children out of wedlock by other multiple men, that was an indictment on your humanity. As a child, you grew up with that same indictment. I mean, as a boy, I was labeled a menace, thug, all the and depending on where our place in America, they change, but at the end of the day, they're still controlling images that is impacting our humanity as a result of systematic racism that undermines our ability to reach our full humanity, because they're holding us. They're actually prisons that's holding us back, because again, right, white hegemony is so sophisticated that it's brutal but subtle at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that. And Abiomi, um, when we talk about the controlling images, I'm adopt that. I'm adopt that. The controlling images. Um, they come with narratives that we buy into, that we say yes to them. Because it can only control us when we agree with it. Abiomi, what are some of the narratives that you believe our communities have agreed to?
Well, it's been forced on us, and I don't see it as just being psychological warfare or propaganda. They have mechanisms, to enforce, what they're saying. Like right now, for example, they're trying to make it appear as if the city of Detroit is no longer a majority Black city. I mean, if you watch the news, for example, um, the anchors, most of them are white. Typically, now it's very rare you'll see a major, like if you're watching a news panel, it's very rare that you'll see 3 Black people there, or even 2 Black people and 1 white person. You may find 3 whites, 1 Black, and 2, like that. So, and then the way they've been promoting this NFL draft and other things too, is to project an image for the last decade that all these things are happening, that people are coming back to the city. And that's just absolutely false, because, in 2005, there was the All-Star game. A lot of people were here. 2006, it was the Super Bowl game. When they had the ethnic festivals down on the river, I mean, tens of thousands of people would show up, and they were free for people to enter, So all I'm saying is that their objective is to reinforce white supremacy and to make it appear as if, Black people cannot govern themselves, they can't rule, they can't do this. So this is a horrible, in my opinion, a horrible narrative that's being pushed and has been pushed over the last decade in the city of Detroit.
Yeah.
And all the emphasis, if you look, it's even the stuff that's been done for the last 15 years, for example, a lot of it is deteriorating. Part of it is the pandemic, of course, but even before the pandemic, you had like massive closures of retail outlets. So that everything is great, and that Detroit is back. It's back now. But where's it been? I've been here since I was 10 years old. Okay, in Detroit. So I'm still here. I've been able to survive here. A lot of people haven't. A lot of people have been forced out or sought to leave, and go to other cities, even out of the country. I know a number of people have left. So, and they're not doing anything to encourage people, very little to encourage people to stay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and to be quite honest, if many of us did leave, what would be left? What would America really be like?
It's a good question.
And
because a lot of the new people that have come in, you don't know how long they're going to stay. Some of them have already left. So yeah, I see the population going down consistently unless there's some type of a major shift in policies in the city. you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the city, where you are is very important. We have elections coming up. What would you say people need to really focus on when it comes to um, the elections and policy?
Well, we need people that are from the community who are who we can hold accountable. This is the major problem as I see it. People get in, they'll say anything to get in, but once they get in, you can't hold them accountable. They're willing to vote millions upon millions and millions of dollars to the most wealthiest people who own businesses in this area, and it hasn't helped improve the overall conditions of people in the city. The poverty rate is still sky high in the city of Detroit, and the housing crisis is getting worse. Um, so, we need people who can redirect resources to where they're needed, where people can get decent housing, public transportation, good education, good security. Without the police, because a lot of times when you call the police, um, situations can get even worse. Like
Yeah.
out in Warren, they killed this guy from Bangladesh recently. He had a mental health crisis, and they called the police. He was 18 years old. They showed up, and he got, slaughtered, mowed down. So this kind of stuff is going on
Yeah.
all the time. So, it's just so much that needs to be done. But I don't think it can be done, absent of networking, mobilization. I think that's what it's going to take.
Yes, I agree. And I'm looking at, you mentioned some things, networking and mobilization. The question is, like, where do we go from here? We see where we are right now. We have some things in play.
Yeah.
Dr. Yusuf, where do you think we should go? Where do we go from here? What are some things that we can do that you can tell us in your own expertise? Where can we go from here? Because look, I have just had a conversation, and I'm doing some things also, with a mother. I call her one of the mamas in my life, and she just sold her car. Now she can still drive. She's in her 80s. She can still drive, but she sold her car because the rent went up.
Hmm.
And it was either going to be keep her car, it's because the rent went up, and then she had to also pay insurance. So it's either keep the car or the insurance, because the car was paid for. The insurance she couldn't keep because the rent went up. So, it's so now she's home a lot, So and so now it's like this woman worked. See, a lot of times people don't get it. She worked, she retired. There was a point when you reached a certain age, there was some leisure. People don't understand now. There's not. How many older people now, our great grandparents, grandmothers, are out working because they need to survive? Where do we go from here?
I think it's at this stage of the game, we got to close ranks. Need to have some serious conversations with each other, and if we're serious organizers, activists, and whatever title that we want to utilize, and recommit ourselves to building a grassroots movement, a grassroots initiative that the grandmother mother that you just talked about. Um, that's where that voice gets amplified. I mean, right now the crisis is at such a level in the city that we're losing at a rate that doesn't make any sense. I mean, like people should be really ashamed of themselves for this for the next couple of days in terms of all this glorifying of downtown Detroit. Uh, of the NFL draft, and you guys still got close to 40% of people living in poverty, and the mayor who constantly said, "I'm not going to talk about poverty. I'm not." I mean, but we have people again going back to that table turn, right? Some of our so-called best and brightest is at the table with him. Who's legitimizing these things? I think we've forgotten how to be critical with each other without. You know what I'm saying? We don't have to go to war with each other, but we need to be critical of each other. We need to be able to hold each other accountable. We need to draw some lines in the sand. And I think this next election. I mean, just speaking from a pure is very important because of whether Duggan runs or not, of where we're going to determine where we're going to go, whether revolution or chaos. And the revolution is about change, and the type of change that we need. The neighborhoods that we know where we live at, majority of people they're being left behind, and so we have to create an agenda that represents them and hold folks accountable, if not produce it ourselves.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Abiyomi.
Yes.
I want to go.
Yeah.
This was the
I was
prime
thinking.
time for us to really stop everything downtown. We should have been hitting the streets now. And I'm glad, Abiomi, I'm glad you're out there tomorrow. Tell us, where do we go from here?
Oh, well, I was just thinking, in regard to what has been happening, in Detroit. And I was thinking about 4 years ago during the presidential elections, and it was so much anger against Donald Trump, for example, his handling of the pandemic, his fear of being voted out of office. He was taking up all the mailboxes, and they were unplugging the sorting machines in the postal service and all that, so people couldn't vote by mail and all that. So there were a lot of things that people had anticipated with Trump leaving office and Biden coming in. For example, the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act never got passed. The John Lewis Voting Rights Act never got passed. Okay,
never.
Any legislation for guaranteeing reproductive rights for women hasn't been passed. So, then now we got this heavy war situation that's going on that many people are in opposition to, because first people are being killed, but on top of that, it's a drain, on the national economy. All those funds could be utilized to do the things that we want to be done here in Detroit and other cities and rural areas around the country. It's just a very horrible situation when they just voted to send another $95 billion for war. Just think about it. We could do a lot with $95 billion in the United States.
About it.
A few $1 billion here in Detroit could go a long way. It could go a long ways to help people.
Yeah.
You go over on, I was over on the Southwest side. There was people lined up for blocks and blocks and blocks to get food, surplus food. So that's the situation we're facing right now. So I don't know.
Yeah.
The turnout could be low. I mean, that's a reflection too, that people don't have faith in, either party. I don't know how well organized, like Cornel West, for example, he's running as an independent, but I don't know if he's been able to, or if he will be able to get on the ballot here in Michigan. It takes a lot to get on the ballot in Michigan. So,
yeah.
So I don't know. We're stuck with the same thing from 4 years ago. So that's what's happening now.
Yeah, and what I do know is that we're funding this. When you said it, but I don't think people really realize 95 billion that is coming from us. It's coming from us.
And that's
so
additional money.
We're funding.
That's additional money on top of the already 800 billion or more for defense. So this is another 95 billion. And these are wars that are being lost. They're losing in Ukraine. They're even losing in Gaza. They have not been able to eliminate Hamas and the other resistance groups, and they have not been able to find their people who have been held there, the so-called hostages. So
We're funding genocide.
yeah, we're funding genocide, but they have not met their military objectives. They have not, destroyed the resistance. And Ukraine, I mean, it's horrendous. I mean, they're sending more guns to give to the Ukrainians to get slaughtered. I mean, it's just unbelievable. But
Unbelievable.
This is what the issues are. Yeah. But
I
do have faith in the people. I just say I have faith in the masses of people, and like when George Floyd was murdered 4 years ago, people rose up around the country. It didn't turn out the way I would have liked it for it to turn out. Same thing this year with the Palestinian situation. People can rise up, and they can make a difference, and they have made a difference. So I'm not pessimistic, but I'm a realist from the standpoint that I don't think we could sugarcoat the problem that we're facing right now. It's a structural problem, and I think it has to be dealt with on that basis.
Yeah. Thank you. And thank you so much. I tell you, now is the time, and I join with you, with both of you. I'm so glad that no matter where I go and what I'm doing, anytime it involves human rights and educating others, I'm running into both of you here and there and everywhere, definitely in the community. And I'm excited to know that my brothers are out here standing for what I believe in. And I know you don't stand alone. And so, Michigan Coalition for Human Rights stands with you. We join with you with what you're doing. We are so proud, happy about what you're doing, and we want to continue that and continue to reach out, continue to be the light, that beacon of light in the community. So, with that said, Dr. Yusuf, any last words for our viewers tonight?
We can win, and we will win. It requires great sacrifice. It requires us of re-educating ourselves. It requires of us of removing the oddness of what we're fighting against, and wanting to be that, and the ability to want to create something new. And I know that's daring. I know that's scary, but that is necessary.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Abiomi, last words for our viewers.
Well, I appreciate the invitation, and I think we need to continue to discuss these issues on a serious level. And I believe that we will, triumph. We owe it not only to ourselves and those that are living now, but we owe it to our ancestors, their memory, their legacy. The millions of our ancestors who were kidnapped, brought here, enslaved, worked for centuries for nothing. So we owe it to them, to their memories, their legacies, and to the ones that are coming after us, to save humanity, to save the planet. That is the most important thing we can be working on right now.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you both.
Right.
Again, I'm Tia Taylor with Michigan Coalition for Human Rights co-chair, and so excited to have had the pleasure of having you two here tonight. It is indeed just makes my heart jump as we are and continue to rehumanize human rights, looking through the eyes of Abiomi and Dr. Yusuf. God bless you both. Peace and blessings, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you, guys. Have a
Till
good
next
one.
month. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right.